How you doing, Mr. Ishmael?
Good. How are you, Miss King?
Trying to get a few more things wrapped up before this meeting starts.
Yeah. Shay said they may run a little bit long, but we'll see if so. We'll let them know. I guess we can start letting people in now.
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Larry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good
Okay.
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening. Okay, I'm going mute.
Good evening, everyone. There is a fairly decent chance that we'll start a little bit late tonight. The SAB is still in closed session, and I got word that it may go a little bit longer than 7 o'clock. So I will keep you posted once it looks like we're going to be starting. And good evening, everyone. To everybody who's joined in the last few minutes, the SAB is still in closed session, so we're running a little bit behind, waiting for them to come out of closed session. So we will be starting in a little bit. Thanks for your patience. All right, a few SAB members have joined us, so I think we will be starting here in a moment.
Shay, will you let me know when all board members have been logged on?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Ishmael,
Yes.
should I go ahead and take over as the host?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should have, once you logged on, it should have made
Okay.
you the host, so you should be good.
Well, it was saying reclaim, so I did it. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if you want to start recording, you should be good to go. Or I can do it if you like.
Make sure all the board members are on. Okay, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone in the community and those that are on the Zoom link. Thank you for your patience with us as we try to do district business. At this time, it is 7:09, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Shay, can I get a roll call vote?
Yes. Dr. Beckwith,
Here.
Dr. May,
Here.
Mr. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Oswald. Ms. Morville.
Here. Thank you. At this time, I would like a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Jones and second by Dr. May. Are there any questions? Roll call vote, Shay?
No.
Oh,
Voice vote.
oh, it's a voice vote. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Next on our agenda is Riverview Excellence.
All right, good evening, Special Administrative Board members, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. The following individuals are being recognized under Riverview Excellence for distinction this week. We have Dr. Sherry Schulberg, principal of Danforth Elementary. And the following scholars, we have Courtney Stewart, a senior scholar at Riverview Gardens High School, Janiyah Wilburn, scholar at Gibson Elementary, Branson Simmons at LeMasters Elementary, and Lakaya Bell Lesueur, a scholar at Moline Elementary. And for Dr. Sherry Schulberg, Dr. Pruitt-Adams mentioned her award at the last board meeting, but we wanted to formally share that information and go into a little bit of additional detail. Dr. Schulberg was named the Missouri Distinguished Principal of the St. Louis Suburban Region by the Missouri Association of Elementary and Secondary Principals. She was surprised with that announcement on January 4, and she'll be formally presented that award at the, I don't know if it's MAESP, M-A-E-S-P Leadership Conference in March. And so we wanted to say congratulations to Dr. Schulberg. Good luck. We hope that she wins that Missouri National Distinguished Principal Award as well. For Courtney Stewart, the scholar at Riverview Gardens High School, she was the recipient of the Drum Major Scholarship from Christian Hospital. Ms. Stewart was presented with that award at Christian Hospital's virtual MLK celebration on January 14. That was hosted by Rennie Knott. And she did a excellent job in her piece. There was a video piece where she says she wanted to be a world-renowned cardiothoracic surgeon. And after attending college, she intends to come back to her community to open up a healthcare clinic. So we just want to wish the best for her and congratulate her on that scholarship. Also, we would like to salute all the scholars who participated in the district-wide spelling bee on Friday, January 21st. I will say that was a great event to be at, to watch all the scholars spelling, and it was exciting and entertaining and had some thrilling moments. We did live stream that on YouTube, and so if any of the SAB members were not able to watch, you can go back on the YouTube page and you can view that. But the top three finishers from that event: in third place from Moline Elementary, we had Lakaya Bell Lesueur. In second place from LeMasters Elementary was Branson Simmons. And the first place winner of the RGSD district-wide spelling bee from Gibson Elementary was Janiyah Wilburn. So congratulations to Janiyah, Branson, and Lakaya for their magnificent performances.
Did any board members want to make comments?
The second that emotion.
Madam President, I was just wondering if the spelling bee winners would go on to compete in anything else at the state level or any other level, the spelling bee.
To my knowledge, I don't know if there's like a national spelling bee. It would be great if there was, but I'm not sure at this time. I can't find that out.
We can find that out.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I thought it was so cute. I didn't know who Branson Simmons was, but
He was,
a little kid knocked on my door and said, "Hey, I was in the spelling bee and I won." I said, "Well, congratulations." I didn't have a clue who he was, but now when I see his name, because he never did tell me his name, he was so happy. So congratulations to all the young people. Keep it up. And pretty soon, maybe we will be able to enter them in a national spelling bee. Thank you. At this time, are there any announcements? I just wanted to announce that Connie Hart, as we are also preparing for an election here in the district, special school district, region sub-district 4, Riverview Gardens is a part of that. And so Connie Hart will be running on behalf of Riverview Gardens. She is Ferguson Florissant resident, but I believe that Flora and Riverview Gardens are both sub-district 4. So I just wanted to inform you that we did have someone that was very capable running for the seat to represent our school district. Shay, at this time, do we have any patrons that would like to make comments?
oh, we do not.
Thank you. At this time, then we will move to our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I would like to, as you know, weekend before last, we had a student from Central Middle School who passed. And so if we could just take a moment of silence to honor him. Thank you. I want to also announce that Riverview Gardens, in collaboration with the Normandy School Collaborative, hosted a board candidates training. It was held at Barack Obama Elementary School in Normandy. We had 3 of our candidates who participated. Ms. Maura Real and I were both in attendance. It told them everything from scoop to nuts
Yes.
about being on the board. And Ms. Maura Real and I are looking for a date where we can host a fact night for our candidates. Additionally, I had the opportunity, the pleasure of being a judge at the spelling bee. I think I was more excited than the scholars. I was rooting for each and every one of them. You would have been so proud. So I had an opportunity to also take a picture with the winner. So it was great. Everyone is aware of the Attorney General's lawsuit asking school districts to not require a mask mandate. Every day a list comes up of the districts that have been identified. As of today, Riverview Gardens School District has not been identified, but there was a question asked of the Attorney General why he had not identified us as one of the schools. We are covered under our insurance should this happen. And so right now, districts have the ability to stay open. So I just wanted to say that in case individuals are hearing it. Also, on February the 8th, the district will be making a presentation to the State Board of Education. It is part of an MOA that was established 11 years ago when the accreditation was removed, that the district would do a quarterly update. This will be our quarterly update. We will talk about those things we are doing to regain full accreditation. We will also talk about the impact that COVID has had on our students and our teaching and learning with regards to teachers, our scholars, and instruction. We will also talk about what we're doing in order to regain that and other points that the state has asked us to present on. Our presentation is scheduled for 10 a.m. And we've been told we'll probably be presenting and answering questions for an hour. It is a live feed, I believe. They stream it, so if anyone wants to look into that. And I'm pleased to announce that we will be embarking this Friday on our second Spirit Friday. I encourage all of you within listening range, Zoom range, and earshot. If you are a member of the Riverview Gardens community, please wear your spirit gear. We're working on reclaiming that Ram proud, Ram I am spirit. And that concludes my announcement.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that some of my coworkers, I had mentioned in the past that I have several people that work with me that either have family that work for Riverview Gardens or they are Riverview Gardens graduates. And so my sweater came up missing at work, and so did my mask. And the note was left for me that they heard that we do Spirit Week. How come I didn't let them know? I thought that was a cute idea. So I'll see who stole my stuff Friday. We will move on to the next item. That's the proper update.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleague and community. As you know, on the second board meeting, I present the proper update. So the first slide, the second slide shows those projects that have been completed. A few, you'll see Highland Flooring, high school band room. Next slide. More completed projects, parking lots, high school, parking lot, Westview parking lot, and Central Middle. Next slide, please. More completed projects, fire alarm upgrade, as well as the high school building 9 roof replacement. Rooftop units, phase 1, new playgrounds, central office electrical upgrade. Facilities drainage, district-wide building access upgrade. Current projects ongoing is the HVAC, HVAC control upgrades. We're about 98%. Board approved budget for $759,769. MBE, WBE participation to be determined. The next one is our school-based health center. It's about 15% complete. We're looking to begin this work very soon. That budget was approved for $468,968. Roof repairs at LeMaster's Elementary School, 98% complete. That is a 100% WBE. Board approved budget for $281,955. Also, current project is Central Middle School, is 98%. Budget approved for $444,752, 0 participation. The next one is our district-wide camera upgrade. It's 60% complete for a budget approved of $265,091, 100% MBE participation. This next slide shows those projects that were promised to the voters of the things that we would use proper dollars for. And as you can see, the different colors displayed means that they're complete, ongoing, upcoming. Next slide. Summary to date, 29 projects have been approved by the board. 24 of them are complete. 5 are ongoing. 34% MBE participation and 8% WBE participation to date. Are there any questions?
Beth, would you have any questions? Do any more members have questions? Yvonne, I just noticed, didn't the participation numbers go up? Looks like they went up from the last time. Especially the WBE.
No, I think they were the same as
Think they're
last
the
time,
same?
but I think so, but I will double check.
Double check, okay. I thought the last one I saw, the winner was 6. I thought that was 6. It's 8 now.
Okay, but I will double check.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to items for information. Item A on this category is Health Services Program Evaluation.
Good evening, SAB members, Dr. Joylyn, colleagues, and community. Lead nurse Diane Mitchell will be presenting the Health Services Program Evaluation.
Good afternoon, SAB members, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I am Diana Mitchell, the lead nurse for health for the district. And tonight I will be, for informational purposes, briefly discussing the program evaluation for health services. Okay. So I'm gonna move down to the 3 district contact tracers. And so what I wanna speak about is that we have 2 of our district contact tracers have school buildings. I am one of them. My school is Lewis and Clark, and the other nurse is Sakina Jones, and she is the school nurse at Highland Elementary. The third nurse is the agency nurse, and that's the one agency nurse that we have still employed for the district, and she is Elizabeth Rabine. So the reason why I wanted to move down to talk about the contact tracers is that when we came back after winter break, the numbers for the COVID exposure was very high, and so when we were doing the contact tracing team was it was very, very challenging being a contact tracer, and your building, keeping the building, keep doing your being the school nurse in the building. So we may have the response time was not as good as we would have liked it to be when the employees were reporting. So I was Sakina Jones, the nurse at Highland. She created a self-reporting for the employees to help increase the response time. So that, and it really did make a difference because it was really very, very challenging when we came back when so many were reporting, and it seemed like we just could never get them all done. So once we enhanced with that process of the self-employee reporting, it really made the response time better. So that is one improvement that I'm really happy that we were able to do. So another improvement is that we started off with 6 agency nurses in our district. And now we have, that were in school buildings. And now we have all our nurses are district employed. So we have, all our buildings have district nurses. And we are still missing one. We still have one more we want to employ, and that would be the nurse. We need one more nurse at the high school, and then we will be fully covered with district nurses, and that's good. So I think that's a great improvement as well. We did have 3 immunization clinics for COVID vaccine immunization clinics for the scholars and the families and the community. And we had they were vaccinated for COVID. We had the boosters, and we had approximately 100 participants that actually received vaccinations. So at the high school, like I said, we have one. We replaced the assistant aide with a nurse. Because we needed somebody that could do everything that a nurse could do and that an assistant aide could not. So we're gonna, like I said, we have one nurse up there and it's a district nurse, and we trying to get one more. So I've already said we did have approximately 100 people to participate with the at the clinic to get their COVID vaccination. And we also, in the summer of 21, we had Healthy Kids Express come and provide state required vaccinations for our scholars. And we had about approximately 25 scholars to participate when they were providing immunizations. We also had St. Luke's Hospital mammography van come to our school, and 12 of our district employees were able to participate within that clinic. We also have special school district do hearing screenings for our preschool and elementary schools, and we had approximately 2,000 students screened for that were preschool and elementary for hearing. And for vision screenings, we have Kids Vision for Life, and they have already come and they have seen our children, and they have seen the preschools and the elementary as well. And they have seen 2,000 students as well. Healthy Kids Express also have a van that comes to two of our schools, Gibson Elementary and Moline Elementary, and they come to help our students learn more about their condition, about their and how to treat it, and how to take the medication. And so between the two schools, there were at least 40 students seen. And for the we also had at least about approximately 20 employees participated in our health screening that we had on November the 1st. And Gateway Dental is still in our schools. So they basically kind of just really got started. And so so far they only seen like 208 students, but they still have like maybe 9 more schools to see. So they're really just getting started. Next slide. So our objectives for next school year for 2022 and 2023 is that we still want to continually work on controlling the spread of COVID among our scholars and our employees. We want to continue to provide the mitigating measures that we have in place now. And I know we're trying to get a few other things, like we want to try to get plexiglass in the classrooms for the desks, to keep the kids, keep the scholars more, give them more social distance, and that's going to help with that. We want to definitely always try to improve our contact tracing for our employees. And we want to, I can't see that right there.
Are you at the part where you're talking about the vaccination clinics for students and employees in the community, Nurse Mitchell?
Yeah, it's like, I can't hardly see it.
Okay.
It's kind of, all the way, it's kind of closed off a little bit.
Okay. Do you want me to continue?
Or
Or do you have it?
Well, let me see if you can move it over just a little bit more. Okay, I think that's better.
Okay.
So we want to continue to do the vaccination clinics for our scholars and our employees. We want to also in the community, and we know we already have some people, different agencies we already have a good connection with that will be willing to come back. And if we can we want to work on getting more agencies to come in to provide those services for our community scholars and employees. We also want to provide COVID testing for our employees. I know that CUR-STL is also working with us to try to provide that. We're looking at hopefully getting it started very soon, hopefully in February. But if not February, we would definitely keep pushing to get it done as soon as possible, the COVID weekly testing for the employees. And we're also looking for the school-based health clinic to be more supportive with providing physicals and the health, the behavioral health counselor be available for our employees and scholars in the next school year. Tools and criteria we use the SIS-K end of year health data data report. We use the SBHC end of the year data report. We use consent forms from our immunizations and physicals. We also use the reporting for the vaccinations that goes to the health, human resources and to the contact tracing. So our next steps is to continue to enhance our COVID mitigations and continue to work on providing testing and vaccinations for clinics for our students, employees in the community, and also to expand the school-based health center and have them provide more services for our community and our scholars. Also with the behavior clinic, having that more available and accessible for our scholars. We want to increase school immunization compliance. We want to have that summer clinic 2 if we can. We want to definitely push for 2 summer clinics this summer. And we also want to buy a van.
Go ahead, nurse. Go ahead. You're doing a great job, Nurse Mitchell. Keep going.
We want to buy a van and collaborate that with the current STL. And we want it so that we can increase school vaccinations for our scholars. Maybe we can park different places, come, meet the scholars at where they are, and maybe, and perhaps hoping that they will come out and we would get more vaccinations done. Any questions or concerns?
Questions. First, a comment. Nurse Mitchell, I applaud you and other nurses for the job that you're doing, especially during the pandemic and the surge. My appreciation. The question goes to probably Dr. Patton. I applaud one nurse being in every school, although high school is supposed to have 2, but I'm wondering, where's the equity when a middle school has 750 students, 1 nurse, and an elementary school may have 200 students and 1 nurse? We do have ESSER 3 funds that need to be used by a time certain. I think it was like $34 million. If the nurses are there, why can't, if not this school year, for the next school year, do a little more equity? The more enrollment you have, the more nurses you get. I'm not asking that anything be taken away from the elementary, but surely at the high school, if I have 3 times as many students as an elementary school, seems to me I would have 3 times more nurses. That's just a comment and a concern.
Would you like me to address that, Dr.
Yes,
Beck?
yes.
Okay. First of all, Nurse Mitchell, good job. I know you were very nervous about that, but you did a fabulous job, so thank you. Dr. Beckwith, to address your question, I am working with supplemental health care to provide additional nurses. The problem, and it's not really a problem, it's just something that we need to discuss. Right now, nurses are raising their rates. So we've gone from paying $38 to $41 an hour to paying $50 to $54 an hour for nurses. So right now, at the rate that supplemental health care is paying them for Riverview Gardens, we are not able to get more nurses because they're going to other school districts who are raising the hourly pay for them. So on my board report, I did put that on there that we needed to discuss possibly raising the rate for nurses within Riverview Gardens so that we could get more supplemental healthcare nurses within. So that is something that we are working on. But we need to discuss the possibility of raising the rate for them.
Okay, but there's also the possibility, if you can't do that, is reapportioning the nursing staff that you have.
Yes, sir. We can also do that. What I was attempting to do, we are still looking for, as Nurse Mitchell mentioned, we are still looking for one nurse for the high school so that the high school will have two, and we can reassign them. But right now, within COVID, with the number of students that are coming in showing symptoms or COVID positive, we have to make sure that we have a nurse in every building. When we have issues like you just said, where there may be bigger concerns or more students at the middle and high school, our nurses go to other schools. Nurse Mitchell will call and say, hey, can you go over to one of our other schools to lend support? So we have been covering as best we can, but my goal is to get more nurses in our district. In terms of changing the staffing plan to add, that's something that I'd have to follow the process for, but that is something that we are looking into.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam President, I had a question.
Okay.
In some of the other districts, the contact tracing responsibility is a person that is either specifically hired to do that. They may get extra service pay, but they are trained and not necessarily the nurse. I wanted to know if that had been explored. In addition to that, I was wondering if parents have been communicated about St. Louis County Library and the United States Postal Service doing those, sending those free at-home kits. And then lastly, I want to know if that Quantum Laboratory, the African-American laboratory that wanted to partner with the district, had been contacted in order to provide COVID testing for the staff.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So in your first question was exploring contact tracing in other ways. So we've done that. All of our nurses have attended the Johns Hopkins contact tracing. And again, we are working with supplemental health care. This again comes back to Riverview Gardens being willing to raise the rate in order to bring our nurses in. And so again, that's a discussion that we are having. Right now, what we do is with all of our nurses that come in, we have them do the Johns Hopkins COVID contact tracing procedure so that they know how to do it within their buildings. And I have to say that Diane Mitchell, Elizabeth Rabin, and Sakina Jones have been doing a great job. Elizabeth is dedicated to just doing that. That's all she is doing. So Dr. May, we are looking into that. In terms of the kits, I don't know, I guess maybe Mr. Sistron could speak to whether we have communicated with our community about the kits. I can't really recall us doing that, but that's something I can make sure that we do. I haven't sent him a flyer to ask him to do it, but he may have done that independent of me. And then finally, Quantum, we did reach out to them. I did talk to them. They want, their charge was $100 per test, per person. And so when you have a district of 700 employees, 5,500 students, that could become quite expensive.
Okay, so it was not free, like.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No,
all
ma'am,
right.
it was not free. When he quoted me a price of $100 per test.
All right, I will let the senator know. Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes.
on the comment about the two libraries, we only get 25 kits at each of those a day. We had 1,000 people to register for those kits. So they are overwhelmed, and I would not want us to put something out there, and right now we can't possibly serve them at the library, the two libraries.
Mhm. Thank you, Dr. Beck.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Mayor Mitchell as well. I really think that we need to let the public know. I know I was talking to a friend that has a child in review, and they were amazed at some of the things that we have. And I'm amazed because I see on here mammogram testing, hearing tests, vision tests, flu shots, dental screening. And I just want to say that I think that that's wonderful. I think that it's a service for our young people in our community. And I just really would like to see this information shared with the community. I think that if they know that these types of things go on here, that will help with the image that they have of us. But I
So,
did want to thank you personally for your presentation.
So Ms. Morrill, when we set up all of those clinics, we do communicate with our families. We post it on our Facebook page, on all our social media accounts, as well as the nurses sending home flyers with the students in their hand. So we do a very good job of getting that information out to the community. Even with the COVID clinics where you can get your shots, we do a very good job of sharing that information as well. And we will continue to do it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We will now move to temporary staffing and human resource department.
No, I think we missed one.
Did I miss one?
COVID protocol.
I am so sorry, that is important. COVID protocol, thank you.
Good evening, SAB members, Dr. Joylin, colleagues and community. As we discussed last month, I believe we discussed this last month, I bring before you Riverview Gardens 2021 COVID protocols for scholars and staff. As you will recall, back in November, a judge in Cole County issued a judgment that would ultimately impact school districts. And on December the 7th, the Attorney General of Missouri issued a letter to school districts to cease and desist requiring students to wear masks and/or to quarantine. This will be reviewed every year. The Riverview Gardens, our top priority is maintaining the safety and welfare and the health of our district. To that end, we will continue to require students to wear masks. We will continue to require them to social distance, as well as quarantining students and staff when they are positive or demonstrating symptoms. Last month when we reported on this, we shared with you all that on January the 18th, we would move from 10 days of quarantines for those that were showing symptoms or were positive. So we're moving from 10 days to 5 days for anyone that is demonstrating symptoms of COVID or is positive. We will continue our mitigation standards with masks, face coverings, extra cleanings, and this will continue to remain in effect for the next 30 days. At that time, we will bring it forth again. Are there any questions?
Any questions? I wanted to ask a question of you as far as where our buildings are concerned in testing students. Do we have, well, I'll use my job for an example. We have areas where the public is coming into our facility, and I'm thinking in terms of the children now, where we have the hand sanitizer, where we have masks that can be distributed. And then if children are having difficulty maintaining masks or whatever, some or in our office, you can actually receive a packet of masks. And I'm just wondering if we're doing something like that at the district.
Ms. Morrill, I do know that we have the hand sanitizer, we have masks for everyone that come into our buildings. We are doing pretty much keeping the public just to a certain degree out, just to mitigate the spread of COVID. And I do know that Yvonne Green and Dr. Singleton ordered a few hundred thousands of masks that KN95 masks that will be coming into our district for distribution throughout our district. So I do know that we are doing those things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I would ask at this time, we said we would bring this item back in 30 days. Initially, because we were not making an update to the plan, we wanted to ask for information. Had this be a discussion on for information, but with the actions most recently of the Attorney General, I would ask special consideration and ask the board to approve the plan again today.
Thank you.
Can we add that as an action Action item then?
Yes,
Yes, we
yes,
can.
so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will then now go on to item 8, item for discussion, the temporary staffing and human resources.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I will be presenting an item for discussion for temporary staffing for human resources for benefits administration. This is an extension to the contract that we already have with K-Force. We've had a temporary worker with us since July 21st, and the expectation is that we will be working on filling this position soon. However, we do need an extension on the contract. The bill rate is $36.85 an hour. And yes, it is budgeted not to exceed $9,000. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve for the Human Resources Department to extend the contract with K-Force temporary staffing to utilize the temporary benefits administration for an additional 4 to 6 weeks.
Is there any questions for Ms. Williams on this subject?
Yes, I think I may have asked, is that person available for hire with K-Force or?
Yes, the person is available for hire. We've had the K-Force employee in place for 6 months. And after 6 months, then if we were to hire that person, then K-Force would release them to us with no additional fees.
Okay, but only after that time frame is up.
Yes, and
Okay.
right, but however, we would go through the hiring process and consider that candidate just as we would anyone else.
Okay.
And to piggyback off of Dr. May's question, if you are taking that under consideration, how soon would you post? Would you have a post prepared so that it can be put out?
Yes, once item B for discussion tonight is for the position of human resources generalist. So once that position, the next presentation has been approved, we will post it immediately and then begin the process of filling that position.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? You then move to your second item, item B, staffing plan adjustment.
Yes. This item for discussion is for the staffing plan adjustment for a human resources generalist. Currently, we have a position of human resources manager that handles benefits and workers' comp and Americans with disability, also benefits and policy management. However, in assessing the essential functions for that position, the last 3 people who have worked in that position have not performed any management responsibilities. They have functioned more so as an HR generalist. So I am asking tonight for the board to consider leaving the HR manager position unfilled and add an HR generalist position to human resources. It is budgeted because we have the allocation for a human resources manager. With this position, a bachelor's degree would be preferred. However, the person would need to have at least 5 to 7 years of related benefits experience. And so it is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the change in the 2021-22 staffing plan to leave the human resources manager position unfilled and to add a human resources generalist.
Thank you. Are there additional questions on this subject matter?
Yes, what would be the salary range and is it competitive with other districts in the area?
The salary range is $46,000 to $75,000 and it is competitive. Where we will get on the higher end of it is if we were to try to secure a candidate who has a degree. Then at that point, the salary would end up being on the higher end.
Are there any additional questions? Thank you. We will then move on to item C, which is renewal of more net digital collection.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. I'll first start by saying that ordinarily this would have been presented by title, but being that Ms. Curtis is transitioning into the new position, And for the most part, this comes through our librarians. I hope it's okay that I present this on her behalf. The MoreNet provides an online platform to access digital books. Students and staff will have access to millions of titles from over 5,000 publishers. In addition to providing resources to our students, it also helps our staff with supplemental curriculum materials, study guides for teachers, and professional development resources. The MoreNet digital platform is managed by Overdrive, which have over millions of books, and it is filtered by grade level. Content specialists are available to help select titles that are best for our students and our staff. The justification, it comes from Title I-A and Title I-A. Funds to support remote and distance learners needs in the amount not to exceed $5,500. CSIP goal, being that the CSIP goal has not changed, the NPI has not changed, that really should say still by the spring of 2019 as opposed to 2022. The budget impact, it was budgeted. This information was left with us and approved when Kim Loomis was in the position. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approves the MoreNet program to access the digital library. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Ms. Ross, I was looking at the books that they put online. Those are just sample books, correct? Or those books that they're recommending?
I'm not sure what books
I looked at the attachments and just so I could see who some of the authors were. What's the percentage of authors of color as far as these books are concerned?
So it is a varied collection, and I will add with that, MoreNet also, since it's managed by Overdraft, the students also have access to the St. Louis County Public Library books as well. So we're looking at millions of books in addition to the St. Louis County Library collection. So there are specialized sections from African-American authors as a part of that.
Thank you. With no additional questions, we would now move to item D, which is surplus library books.
Again, good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt-Adams, colleagues, and community. It is our board policy that, our district policy to make sure that we deem surplus any books that are outdated, worn, and torn. All of these books will be replaced with new library books. I have provided for you the participating schools in this particular round of weeding. In the past, we have disposed of books with Rhema Church in Berkeley, the Salvation Army, and the Assistance League of St. Louis. And of course, we're open to other community organizations. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair.
Dr. Becker?
Yes. The pages of surplus books went on and on and on. Approximately how many surplus books are those? Just ballpark.
I would say probably about 3,000 maybe. There's anywhere from 1,000 books per pickup from each school. That's just a rough amount, but I
Okay.
can actually get that
No,
total for you.
no. That approximation is fine. The other is just a comment. It was my experience in the past in the St. Louis Public Schools where we gave books away and they wound up in dumpsters. And citizens called the board complaining. So try to make sure whoever we give these books to, that they use them, but they don't throw them away with Riverview Garden stamped on them.
Yes, part of our process, first of all, the books first are given to students and then they're also offered to staff. All librarians are to remove labels and blot out stamps of Riverview Gardens in all books as a part of the process.
Thank you.
Dr. Beckwith asked the question that I was going to ask, but then also, what percentage of the books are just outdated?
I can get that. I can run that as a specific request. What I provided for you just has it under the weeding log.
Right.
But when I put that information into Destiny Manager, it can give me a specific number towards dates. I can get that back to you.
Thank you. You recall, I don't know if you all recall, Dr. Beckwith, I made a statement one time. I was teaching at a community center and the books were outdated, but they were not worn out books. And they just happened to be classic books. And I asked the people what they were going to do with the books and they said they were going to throw them away. And I almost died, you know that. So I took those books home. Those were Robinson Crusoe, Tom Sawyer, you know, just classic books, not in bad shape at all. And they were just outdated. And sometimes those books can be put aside as, even though they're outdated, as a resource for students that may be doing book reports or what have you. So again, you know, Tanya, I'm going to send you a list of ideas like I did in the previous years because I am an advocate for students having a book collection.
Yes.
Thank you. We will now move to item E, which is renewal for the World Book Online.
Okay, the World Book Online. The best way to look at this particular learning platform is to take the traditional or the old World Book encyclopedias and make them digital. There are additional services that are provided by World Book Online that allows our scholars and our teachers to obtain scholarly articles, primary source documents, ebooks, images, illustrations, maps, to name a few. I have provided a sole source letter for you to include the other services that are provided by World Book Online, that while there may be other companies that have encyclopedias, these other companies do not specialize in age-appropriate content, providing editorials, the cutting edge technology, learning that's suitable, not just age appropriate, but also across grade levels, and that there's additional support for usage of this database. In the case of Follett, they offer a digital platform, but notice in the document that I included, that I attached to this, is that they, I'm sorry, I got that mixed up with, I have so much, that's mixed up. That goes on the other, that's with more than that, sorry. I did include the sole source letter for World Book Online. The cost is not to exceed $4,370. Are there any questions?
Any questions, board members? Thank you. We will then move on to Program of Study 2022 to 2023.
All right, my last item for discussion is a program of studies which provides a comprehensive structured approach for delivering academic, career, and technical education to prepare our students for post-secondary education and career success. Our counselors and teachers support our students and families with individual personalized college and career readiness goals and monitors their progress throughout their high school years. The program of studies is aligned to Missouri Student Performance Goal. The revisions are done annually to accommodate the changing demands of today's society upon our scholars. The program of study, number one, describes the course offerings available to students in the Riverview Garden School District. Number two, it assists students and families with short and long-term academic planning. Number three, provides school counselors with sequences of academic and career education coursework that leads students to attain a post-secondary degree or industry recognized certificate or credential. It is aligned with student performance and college and career readiness. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the 2022-2023 program of study. Are there any questions?
Just a comment, Madam President.
Yes.
I noticed at Westview Middle, one of the persons listed on the acknowledgement page had a doctor in front of his or her name. And then others, such as the superintendent of schools, did not. So I'm suggesting if you're going to list titles of the doctorate at the Westview Middle School, you list everybody who has a doctorate who's on that page.
Yes, we'll do. We'll make the changes.
No additional questions. Let's move to item G, which is operational assessments.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues. With the increased requirements for data transmissions, virtual learning, video conferencing, remote learning, basically overall tech readiness, the need to ensure the ability to meet all these tech challenges is apparent. Therefore, there is a need to assess the current environment, including systems, infrastructure, and resources. We contacted 4 companies, IPNS, Carrio Show Group, Provisions Data, and Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology informed us they needed more time, and the Provisions Data Solutions Group informed us that they would only assess the network. We therefore had 2 proposals, one for IPNS for $22,500 and one from Carrio Show Group, the Carrio Show Group, for $10,000. We therefore are recommending the selection of the Carrio Show Group for an amount not to exceed $10,000 and recommend that the SAB approve that selection. Are there any questions?
Dr. Larry.
Yes, sir.
These are minor comments, but just for the next time, you mentioned in line 1, operations specialist, and then you go on to mention that person, but then the recommendation is for a company. Seems to me, if you're recommending a company, that can be a person. And the other thing, normally the recommendation for whatever you're recommending is separated from your background information. Just comments for the few.
Yes, sir. Understood.
All right.
Any additional questions, board members? We will therefore move to item H, which is summary of the fund balance report for the month ended November 30th of 2021.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, Dr. Pruitt Adams, colleagues and community. Tonight, I will give the summary of fund balance report for the 5 months ending November the 30th, 2021. On the very page that you see here, which is the second page of the report, we always summarize our fund balances by fund starting with the beginning fiscal year balance, the year-to-date money. So that second column is revenues that we received year-to-date through November the 30th. The third column shows the expenditures in each fund and how they've been allocated year-to-date. And the ending fund balance shows where we are once you do the math and take your beginning balance, add the revenues, and subtract the expenditures. Again, because I know that the question will come up, I will address it now. There's a negative $406,000 in the ending fund balance for capital projects, but the SAB has approved a fund transfer to be executed at the end of the fiscal year that will wipe out any negative fund balance in capital funds projects. So it is there now. It will certainly, because of the actions of the SAB, it will not be there once we get a total of what that negative balance is, and we're able to eliminate that. The next page deals with the grant expenditures, and we're just talking about the grants. Most of these here are federal. Your title grants, as you can see, are reflected here. Also, we've got some ESSER monies that are reflected as well. And then our national school lunch and breakfast programs, the budget and the corresponding encumbrances for each of those. So as you can see, for the first few months, the first 5 months ending November the 30th, the budgets and the encumbrances, the actual column, the $3.5 million almost, and then the available budgets. And so we've still got quite a bit of monies to spend, but we wanted to just point out what those budget and available balances are for ending November the 30th. The next page deals with the same information, but instead of the expenditures, this time we're looking at all of the revenues. So you'll see the budgets and the revisions of the budgets, also the receipts. Those are monies that we have collected year to date through November for the corresponding federal grants that you see. And you see our outstanding collections are a lot more. So we've got quite a bit of monies to continue to collect and that are outstanding. And so you will see that certainly as the months go on and as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, that $18 million will obviously it will continuously reduce itself and get down to almost nothing in terms of outstanding collections. So that's the revenue piece. The next page here simply takes the same information and we look at each of it by fund. So we will look at the general fund and the money that comes in and what's outstanding in terms of collections there. The next line down is the teachers fund. The money that comes in, the budget that we have, the actual revenues here that we've collected, and then the anticipated monies that we still have to collect. Our debt service fund does the same thing. Then we've got capital projects, and again, we've got our food service monies as well. So obviously there's always a heavy emphasis in our school district on the general fund and the teachers fund that we deal with most of our operations out of. The very next category on the next page deals with, again, expenditures for the first 5 months ending November. Again, expenses through the general fund, you will see the encumbrances and also what's available left to be spent based on the budgets or the revised budgets that the SAB has approved. The teachers fund is there as well. Also our debt service, capital outlay, Fund 42, capital projects, and then our food service expenditures as well, which are reflected towards the bottom of the page here. So those are our expenditures. The next page, which are the last 2 pages, really looks at the same information over the last few years, okay? So where were we this time in 2019? Where were we this time in 2020? And then currently where we are in 2021. So we kind of see the revenue trend. So in 19 and 20, we see $7.5 million. We see $8.2 million and currently we see somewhere close to $7 million. So not that far off target, but again, a lot of this could be in terms of those federal grants that we received prior to those ESSER funds. I believe that can explain some of the differences there. In terms of the teachers fund, I think we are running neck and neck with what we have been in the past. So we see those numbers as we go along, and also in debt service. Our debt seems to be pretty consistent to pay the outstanding bonds that we have, as well as capital projects. You see the information there in 2021, as well as food service. Those revenues year to year seems to be pretty consistent over time. The last page deals with the expenditures for the same time period. And again, I think we are pretty consistent in each of these funds related to our expenditures. So $9 million, $10 million, $10.6 million in the general fund in 19, 20, and 21 respectively. Also in our teachers fund, 8.7 million, 8.5 million, and then the 11.2 million. So obviously that accounts for the raise that we gave our staff that the SAB approved going into this fiscal year. So that's what accounts for the uptick in revenue or the expenditures that you see in those categories. Debt service, again, seems to be pretty consistent, as well as our capital projects fund. And then we see pretty consistent numbers. We saw some downtick last year with food service, but again, we're seeing those numbers kind of get back to somewhat some sense of normalcy. That really concludes the report ending November the 30th in terms of our fund balances. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time?
Dr. Beckwith.
Not a question, but a comment, Dr. Singleton. You know me well, so you cut me off at the pass by saying, explain the deficit up front. Well done.
Yes, sir, Dr. Beckwith. I'm learning. I've been around long enough to know you well by now. So, yes, sir.
I had a question, Madam
Dr.
President. The raise you were talking, were you referring to that $1,000 for the training?
No. So that just hit the stipend piece of that. So you won't see that reflected in any of the numbers until we give you probably a report in March. Those numbers will probably be reflected. But the raise is, for several years, we had gone without a raise. So there was a salary increase for all staff. And I was doing a comparison versus last year versus this year when we saw the uptick in the expenditures and the salary line items in the teachers fund account. So the raise is the fact that the teachers received a raise in that line item. And so that's why the expenses went up from this year versus last year.
Okay, do we have any data to support our cost saving for the vacant positions that we have, and also our loss from the resignations of staff? Like, based on the fact that we've trained them and all those different things, like what's our loss when we experience that?
Sure. So, Dr. Yvonne Elliott, that's a good question. I've never been asked that question, and I don't know if, obviously, finance could probably try and put some kind of quantitative number to the loss, but we would have to work in conjunction with human resources to determine which of those positions are vacant. Again, when we adopt our budget at the beginning of the year, we assume that we're going to be fully staffed, okay? And that's kind of what helps us out throughout the year, is because a number of those fully staffed positions are never filled. And so therefore, we tend to come under and show a decent fund balance. So to answer your question, I don't have the direct answer, but what I will do is kind of work with human resources to see if there's some kind of correlation that we can come up with and maybe quantify some of the savings that you're talking about.
Okay, and lastly, what is typically your cutoff for the staff to end their purchasing? Because I know we kind of talked about those timelines and problems with that.
Absolutely. And so we have to be consistent with that this year. We have to be forceful with those deadlines. So right now, I believe the deadline is somewhere, it's the middle or the end of March. I don't have it right in front of me, but typically it's that third quarter, okay, that we expect all spending, or at least major spending. We know we're going to still have to spend in facilities and things like that, but all planned spending for this year should really cease around that third quarter. So we're going to be pushing real heavily over the next several weeks that January, February, that people spend what they're allocated, because we are going to have to, unfortunately, shut the systems down so that we can do our proper end of the year reporting. So, but to answer your question, it's the middle or end of March.
Okay, and with Dr. Pruitt Adams' guidance, is it possible that maybe either the next or following board meeting that we can get an update on the progress towards some of the audit findings?
Sure. In fact, we have an agenda item to discuss that at the next district leadership team meeting. So I believe that as long as Dr. Pruitt Adams reviews it, and I think we can have something to the board on the progress that we made on discussing the audit findings.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair,
Dr. Beckwith.
Dr. Singles, that's not going to be a clear A for B with the vacant positions, especially at the teacher level, when you got to hire subs to replace those teachers. So it's not going to be that clean in some spots where the vacancy was not filled by a sub or something. It's not going to show a true correlation.
Right, and I totally agree, Dr. Beckwith. And again, Ms. Von Elliott, what I want to do is collaborate with HR to see if there's something that we can give. But Dr. Beckwith is absolutely right. Even though there's a vacant position, we incurred the expense on the other side by hiring the substitute staffing agency, which again, we're paying them $150. I think we just increased their rates to almost $200 a day. So they're kind of making the daily rate of what teachers are making in some instances. And so it may not be a clean comparison, but again, let me sit down with Ms. Williams and then we'll run things by Dr. Pruitt Adams. Maybe we can come up with some numbers. And then again, if we can't just come up with clean numbers, then we're certainly, we'll be transparent and let you know that. Thank you.
Any additional questions? We would therefore, I would make a request for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Second. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, we do have a item for action. You will recall that Dr. Pruitt Adams requested that we take item 7B, we review December 2021 COVID-19 protocols for scholars and staff, and that we would vote on that. So may I have a motion?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Madam President, we didn't vote on the first motion.
I'm sorry.
The first motion and second, we didn't vote on that one.
On the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Mhm.
On the consent agenda? Well,
Yes.
there's a second, there's another item. I'm sorry. May I have a motion?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Well, looking at my agenda, the next thing on the agenda is a request for adjournment. May I have a
So
motion?
move.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
Thank
You
you.
too.